It is mid-August 2023 and Ayman, Brent and I are in Yellowstone National Park for a 5-day backpacking adventure. Our plan will take us through a couple days of lake hopping, and then we'll drop down into the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River before climbing up Mt Washburn to look over the area that we spent the past several days hiking over. The weather could be a challenge. It's been raining all day today, but we've got a lull to start off. We're ready. It's time to hit the trail.
Let's do it.
We've got a short hike in today, about 1.5 miles to our campsite on Ice Lake. First view of Ice Lake. Home sweet home. We made the campsite 4D2, Ice Lake East. Short hike in, we're gonna get settled in. What do you think, Ayman, and my Patrick Mahomes?
Hey! That sound.
The 8,000-foot high Solfatara Plateau is one of 9 named plateaus in Yellowstone National Park. Here's a look around camp set up. There's my tent. We've got Ayman protected in the middle. And then Brent stealthy over in the corner. Day 1 of our adventure in Yellowstone has gotten our trip off to a smooth, solid start. Despite raining all day when we were heading into the park and picking up our permits, it cleared out before we started hiking and has turned into a beautiful evening so far. We've got dinner in us, camp set up, and we're settling in for a relaxing evening. That'll be the end of day 1. Good night. Good morning.
Morning.
We made it to day 2 in Yellowstone National Park. How'd last night go for us, fellas?
First night in grizzly country. It was great. You know, you guys were nice enough to let me get the barricade spot where I put my tent, so you know that was nice. Fishing wasn't too great, but we had a nice campfire last night, and that was great.
Yeah, it was a little windy. I mean, we were lucky. We dodged the storm coming in. It was a little windy, and so we tried to get out there and fish, but I think it was maybe just not the right night for it a little bit. So we'll get on the trail and we'll try our hand somewhere else.
Speaking of on the trail and trying our hand somewhere else, we have a day full of lakes today. We're gonna hit 3 lakes along the way, not including leaving ice behind. We'll check out Wolf, Grebe, and Cascade. It's time to hit the trail. The day started out nice and sunny, and still mostly so. We've got this one gray fellow moving in on us. Doesn't look too threatening. We've got our second crossing of the day of the Gibbon River. You made it look too easy. We're gonna have to cut that out. First look at Wolf Lake. At the outlet of Wolf Lake, we've got a wet foot crossing, and I'm gonna take the advantage to do a little fishing as well.
Hi, kids.
Leaving Wolf Lake behind Our next stop will be Grebe Lake, where we're gonna take a nice little lunch break and test the waters. First look at Grebe Lake. We've got a swan out here with two little babies. Leaving Grebe Lake after a nice lunch, heading towards our final lake of the day, Cascade. First look at Cascade Lake. Home sweet home. We've made it to campsite 4E3, Cascade Lake North, a nice sheltered spot.
Great shot.
The waters from the Solfatara chain of lakes make their way to the Atlantic Ocean via the Missouri River.
We've got Ayman tucked away in the barricade. As we look around camp set up, there's me in front of the meadow. Right beside me, good company, is Brent. Day 2 in the Yellowstone backcountry was more work than day 1, but has been a great day. Hopping from lake to lake, meadow to meadow, forest to forest, we got to see some beautiful sights along our hike. And the weather was very cooperative throughout the day, mostly cloudy and a comfortable temperature. We've got dinner in us, camp set up, and we're settling in for a relaxing evening. That'll be the end of day 2. Good night. First thing in the morning, the sun has appeared, but someone stole our meadow and our lake. Where'd they go? Good morning. We made it to day 3 in Yellowstone National Park. A big shout out to our brother Marcos, who's supposed to be out here with us. Unfortunately, he suffered an Achilles tear just 2 days before the trip. Get well soon, buddy. Yellowstone will be here for you when you recover. How'd last night go for us, fellas?
Thought it went great. You know, we got a nice little campsite here. I was super tired coming in here, but recovered pretty nicely. Sat by the campfire, played some Uno, hung out, had a good old time.
Yeah, we had a good time. We got a little rain last night, but just before we got out and got some fishing in, myself and Ayman here, and there were fish everywhere. They're all still there. We counted. We didn't catch any of them. So, but that's all right. I mean, we had a really nice time trying to catch them.
Good. Yeah, we survived a little storm last night. It's now a beautiful day. The fog's cleared up. Our lake and our meadow has returned into view. We have an awesome day today. It'll be the first time for all 3 of us to see the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River. We're going to drop down into the bottom of it for camp. On our way, we're going to go through Canyon Village and get a bite of real food. We're ready, and it's time to hit the trail. Bye-bye, Cascade Lake. We appreciate the hospitality. We've got a brief road walk to take us into Canyon Village, where we are ready to mash some food. We finished up our road walk and took care of some $20 cheeseburgers. Now we're dropping into the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone via the Glacial Boulder Trailhead. Our first view, the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River. The Yellowstone River. I'm breaking onto the 7-mile hole trail, heading down into the canyon. We found a backcountry thermal feature, heading down the 7-mile hole trail. We're walking through an alien landscape. Closing in on camp at the bottom of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. Home sweet home. We made the 4C3 7-mile hole overlooking the river.
Thermal activity caused the rhyolite rock of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone to become soft and brittle, allowing waters from Yellowstone Lake to carve this masterpiece.
A look around camp set up. No one there beside me. Tucked away together are Ayman and Brent. Safety in numbers. Day 3 in Yellowstone has been an awesome day. We got to grab some real food in Canyon Village and then hike down into the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River. I thought the canyon itself would be the highlight, but there were some really cool thermal features along the way that, when combined with the canyon, exceeded my expectations. We've got a campsite with one of the best views that I've ever had. Dinner's in us, camp set up, and we're settling in for a relaxing evening. That'll be the end of day 3. Good night. Good morning. We made it to day 4 in the Yellowstone backcountry. We survived another night with no grizzly attacks. How have things been going for us?
Going well. I mean, like Lane said, we camped by the river, so we hiked down into the canyon from the visitors area up there, came down into the canyon, crossed a couple geo features and little thermal features, so that was pretty cool. So we'll get ready to hike back up this morning. So.
Yeah, like Devin said, we passed a lot of geothermal features on the way down. It was like walking on the surface of an alien planet coming down here. And the river was nice and cold. We got to jump in there, do some swimming, clean off a little bit. You know, this is just such a beautiful place. Grateful to be here and looking forward to another day of hiking.
That's right, we've got another day ahead of us, and another very cool thing about our swimming time was the water was nice and chilly, but then as we kind of burrowed into the sand a little bit, you could really feel the warmth from the thermal activity underneath. So it was like a super relaxing kind of spa situation that we found ourselves in. Today, we've got to climb up out of the canyon, and we're going to get up to the side of Mt Washburn. We'll walk back through the thermal area we came through. We're also expecting to see some more thermals on the side of the mountain. We're ready, and it's time to hit the trail. Bye-bye, Yellowstone River. Thank you for the hospitality and the very enjoyable swimming pool. Hiking back through the big thermal field. It's a steep climb coming out of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. but we will make it to the top. Rising up on a mostly sunny day. We're heading towards Mt Washburn after finishing up the 7-mile hole trail. Right before we got back to the intersection, we had a big bear scare. A large grizzly mama with one cub was right on the trail. It cut off to the left side a little bit, and we started to walk forward after giving it a few minutes, and then bam, there it was again, right on the trail, cutting back towards the right. So we gave it a little more time, made a lot of noise. Finally, she moved on through the woods, but we are now on high alert for any more bears out here. We made the decision to forego lunch on the trail today after the bear scare. We're gonna truck right on our last mile or two to camp and then gorge. Right up on top there is where we're heading tomorrow, Mt Washburn. We are closing in on camp, ready for some food. Home sweet home. We made it to campsite 4E1, Washburn Meadows, and after a rowdy climb out of the canyon, plus our big bear scare, it feels good to be in camp.
General Henry Washburn was a leader of the 1870s expedition that mapped this region, which would later become America's first national park.
Camp's all set up and the fire's burning.
Day 4 has been another great day and a very eventful one. We had a challenging climb to get back up out of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River, and then once we made it to the top, our adventure was not yet done as we had the bear encounter. Seeing that grizzly and her cub put us on high alert for the rest of the day, but we ended up making it safely and soundly to camp. We're set up, dinner's in us, and we're settling in for a relaxing evening. As long as nothing else crazy happens, that'll be the end of day 4. Good night.
Good morning. We made it to day 5, the final day of our adventure here in Yellowstone. It was probably the warmest night of the trip last night. Stayed in the mid-40s, a nice change from the first night of the trip where it got down to the mid-30s. We got some good rest in. How are we feeling today to finish off this final trek?
Feeling great, had my best sleep of the trip, which was fantastic, so feeling really good today, ready to climb Mount Washburn. We had an interesting, tough day yesterday, climbing out of that canyon. It was brutal, and we had our bear encounter, just walking along the trail, and Devin here was standing in the front and saw this bear, and we kind of just all stood our ground and scared it off, yelled, we all got all the bear spray out. And,
something like that, yeah.
But it was a grizzly and her cub, so it was it was a precarious situation there. But we got through it and made it to camp and had a good night last night. So.
Well, we're all feeling ready to go. Got our trail legs. Got one last day. Get back to the house.
That's right. We're gonna climb up about 2.5 miles to the top of Mount Washburn, enjoy the view, and then climb about 3 miles down, get back to the cars, finish things up. We're ready, and it's time to hit the trail. Starting out as a crystal blue day as we knock out this climb. We can see out past Washburn Meadows into the chasm of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River. We are making good progress up the steep slopes of Mount Washburn. The Washburn fire tower is growing closer. The crystal blue day has transitioned into partly cloudy. Helps keep the sun off of us a little bit as we're doing a lot of climbing here. It's the final countdown, or count up, I guess. We just broke over 10,000 feet in elevation and got a killer view out to the north. So close. We made it to the climax of our trip. Mount Washburn. How was the experience out here over the past 5 days, boys?
Well, I mean, I think we couldn't ask for a much better situation to be in, you know, to make the trip happen. So we had great weather and a great setup, great set of trails, well thought out, well planned, and you know, the challenge was just ahead of us. So it was a great time.
You know, to be honest, this was probably the hardest, most challenging thing I've ever done. Physically, mentally, spiritually, I left it all out here in the park. It was brutal at times, you know, almost quit, but I didn't. Made it up here. Sky Lane, you know, I had a lot of faith in him that, you know, he knew what he was doing, and as good of a guide he is, he's an even better person. I got to shout out, you know, my kids, Nora, Sam, Lena, thank you, love you guys. Emily, thank you.
Let's go finish off these last couple miles. Heading on down along the Mount Washburn Trail. Just 3 miles left to finish off this adventure. Beautiful ridgeline views here. A last look down into the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. 5 days in the Yellowstone backcountry finished up. What an adventure. We saw everything that Yellowstone had to offer. Mountains, canyons, lakes, rivers, meadows, forests. We even had a big old bear scare. It was great to be out here with my 2 compañeros. We had a great time.
I had a great time, and so I'm just looking forward to getting back and seeing Miss Eliza and Jim.
I had a great time as well. I'd like to thank, of course, Lane and my cousin Devin here. He's now my 3rd favorite cousin, so
oh, boy.
He's elevated a little bit.
Oh, that's good, man. I'll take that. You probably got a lot of cool cousins, man.
There we go. Hey, we're ready to go get some big old steaks, get cleaned up, and get out of the woods. I'm gonna send these guys home. I've got a day to resupply and head back into Yellowstone. Until next time, thanks for tuning into Lane's World. Goodbye. On this trip, I'm using the Yellowstone North map by Beartooth Publishing. Let's take a look at the map for this Yellowstone adventure. On day 1, we started at the Ice Lake Trailhead and hiked around Ice Lake to campsite 4D2. Day 1 was about 1.5 miles. Day 2 continued from 4D2, connecting with the Wolf Lake Trail, past Wolf Lake, Grebe Lake, out to Cascade Lake, where we set up camp at 4E3. Day 2 was about 7.5 miles. Day 3, we continued from 4E3 and cut down along the Cascade Creek Trail for a short road walk through Canyon Village to the other side of the map. Continuing on through Canyon Village, we hit the Glacial Boulder Trailhead to take the 7-mile hole trail down to campsite 4C3, 7-mile hole. Day 3 was about 10 miles. On day 4, we continued from 4C3, retracing our steps back up 7 Mile Hole Trail to the Mt Washburn Trail, which we followed to 4E1. Day 4 was about 6 miles. On day 5, we hiked out from 4E1 all the way up to the top of Mt Washburn, and then down to the Dunraven Pass trailhead. Day 5 was about 6 miles, for a trip total of approximately 31 miles.